Hey guys, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders, about to do a little husbandry video. It's probably going to be a shorter one on S asterix. I picked these guys up about a year and a half ago or so, and they're popping up a lot of places now. I think some people are starting to kind of take a chance on them, but there's not a lot of husbandry information out there. So I've been promising people I would do a husbandry video, and we're about to do it now. Before I do that, though, I did make it to round 2 of Fatal Fangs. This is a feeding competition with a bunch of YouTubers. It's a lot of fun. I think I'm kind of ill-equipped to do it because I won't do anything that'll set a bad example for people, so I'm kind of tame in my feeding videos, but I did make it through the second round. Unfortunately, beating Tarantula Cat, who I was kind of hoping to see go further through it. I really wish we didn't go against each other on this one. But for the second round, we're in week 2, round 2, which will start this Sunday at 2 o'clock. I'm going against Predator or Prey, and he's got a fantastic channel, and last time he knocked it right out of the park with his video. So I'm looking for this one to be quite competitive. So as usual, I will put a link down here where you can watch the video and then go down and you can scroll through and select and vote for the video you like best, or the one that you thought was the best video. Mark from Mark's Tarantulas is also in this one. Obviously, Mark and I did Fatal Fangs Challenge. We're kind of hoping we meet up. So I hope to go on, but may the best man win. We'll see how it goes. Also, Dave from Eerie Arachnids is up there, another great YouTuber, so check his out. A lot of great videos up. I believe it's 8 against 8 still. So you just watch the feeding video, make your little notes, and then go ahead and vote for people. You can vote once a day, and it looks like some people are coming back. You know, the real fanatics are coming back and voting multiple days. So do whatever floats your boat. Again, if I don't win, whatever, may the best man win. If I do win, Mark and I hopefully meet up going ahead. So anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get on to the actual video. These wonderful little spiders hail from Costa Rica, and they're a burrowing species, so you're going to want to set them up with moist, deep substrate. And as with most species of tarantulas, there is no real quote-unquote ideal temperature for them. I keep mine in the mid to low 70s in the winter, high 70s to low 80s in the summer. They should do well at room temperature, and it should be noted that the area they come from experiences temperatures that go down to 60. So when we say room temperature, these guys will do fine at room temperature. And as a medium-sized species, the slings are quite small. Mine started off at about 1/3 of an inch or so. They were teeny tiny little guys. And I originally started them off in 5.5-ounce deli cups, kind of the higher ones, with about 1 inch of moist substrate and a small piece of cork bark. Unfortunately, the tiny slings were kind of swimming in this enclosure, which would make them difficult to locate and monitor at first. If I were to do it again, I would probably start them off in a size 13 dram vial, so they would be easier to monitor, or a 2-ounce souffle cup would probably work just as well. It's just they are very small, so you want to make sure you can keep track of them, and I found that once they burrowed, there was no finding them in these containers. When they're that tiny, care must be taken when moistening the substrate. These guys will burrow quite a bit as slings, and you want to avoid flooding their burrows by accident. So I used to use a pipette and carefully add water to the side of the enclosure so that it soaks through to the bottom layers. The trick is to try to locate the burrows, then add the water to the opposite side of the enclosure so you don't flood it. Tiny slings can eat pinhead crickets or red runner roach nymphs or even the dreaded flightless fruit flies, which I just have a hard time wrangling. However, as prey this size can be difficult to come by, especially in small quantities, many keepers will find it easier to introduce pre-killed prey. And this is really easy to do. You can either rip a leg off a cricket, they call them cricket drumsticks, or mealworms cut into segments work really well. Just know that if you feed them larger meals that they probably won't eat as often. This is kind of what I experienced. And for the best results, just drop it right in front of the burrow. Try to make a mental note of where you put it. And for the bigger pieces, it might be tough to see if they actually ate them because they won't eat them all, but try to see if the piece of food is moved. Now, if you pick these guys up, expect your spiderlings to be extremely shy and reclusive. The first several months that I kept mine, I never saw them out at all. This was actually one of the few spiders that actually caused me to break my own rule about never digging up buried slings. And after not seeing them for close to 2 months, I finally dug up one to check on it. The spider, of course, was fine and not happy with me at all. So again, I need to stick to my own rules. I also found that both of mine could be rather erratic in their feeding habits. I once had one open its burrow after a molt, eat a small meal, then close off the burrow for another 2 months. I'm still honestly not quite sure if it actually molted during this period or if it was just fasting. It did appear a bit larger when I next saw it, but I honestly can't tell. And both of my species would only eat every couple weeks or so at first, and that's kind of odd for me because usually I try to feed my slings twice a week. But despite the irregular eating habits, both of my specimens actually grew at a medium rate overall, with each reaching the 1-inch mark within a year. Now, that may not seem like great growth rate, but considering how little they were eating, I was pretty impressed with the size they were putting on. Like most slings, the S asterix will often completely seal off its burrow when entering pre-molt. This is not a cause for alarm. Don't do what I did and dig them up. Keep part of the substrate moist and wait for it to open back up again. When it opens back up, assume that it's ready to eat. Once my specimens hit the 1 inch mark or so, I started catching them out a bit more often. However, they remained very skittish, bolting to their burrows after the slightest disturbance. At 1 inch, I rehoused each into an M-design stackable storage bin, which I love for larger slings because they're quite attractive and stackable, which is the best of both worlds. For substrate, I used cocoa fiber mixed with vermiculite, about 80-20% mix, added a piece of cork bark and a starter burrow, and of course kept it moist. I also put in a little bottle cap water dish, and I have caught these guys drinking before. Now for substrate, topsoil or peat would also work just as well. Once my guys hit about the 2 inch mark or so, they continued to burrow, but I caught them out a lot more. Unlike other fossorial species that you normally catch right at the mouths of the burrow, these guys would come out and wander around a little bit, so it makes them a lot easier to monitor. They also were polite enough to build their burrows right against the side of the enclosure, so I could check on them at all times, so it was easy to tell when they were in pre-molt. Although some of the information I'd read on them had said they can be quite defensive with threat postures and attempted bites being very normal, I have not seen any of this behavior myself. I do wonder if maybe people didn't keep them fossorially, didn't give them a place to bolt to. That could be it. Who knows? I will, however, continue to monitor their temperaments, as obviously some bolts and some size could bring a more ornery spider as they get older. Mine are now young adults, both pushing about 3 inches. One of them actually just molted and is a little over 3 inches. And I'm currently feeding them one large red runner a week. They take them down no problem, as you'll see in these videos. Although mine weren't particularly great or consistent eaters when slings, they have developed voracious appetites as they put on some size. So again, even though they weren't eating a lot of slings, they still grew pretty well, put on some good size, and now as adults and juveniles even, they ate quite fine. With adults reaching a max size of about 4 inches, this is not a particularly large spider. So you want to search for an appropriate enclosure that gives some depth. I'm going to probably be using the M-Design plastic storage bins, which are about 12 3/4 inches by 7 1/4 inch by 7 inches high, which is an affordable alternative to the high-end acrylic enclosures. They look real nice. Just make sure that when you vent it, you put your vent holes up high so you can stack in some nice moist substrate, because they will want to burrow. And again, you don't want to see that defensive behavior, so you want to make sure that they feel secure in their habitat, so give them that space to dig. Now, an interesting fact I stumbled across when I was researching these guys: some have said that the S asterix has more potent venom than most New World species, although I haven't found any hard proof of this. While doing research, I did find that a few keepers describe their specimens as defensive, and I haven't seen that either. So we'll have to see how it goes, although I have no intentions of getting bit by them. So as far as this being a beginner species, mine have been easier to handle, but due to the fossorial tendencies and the likely need for moist substrate, this tarantula would likely be better for the intermediate keepers. Again, I think somebody with some good beginner species experience under their belt could probably do just fine with them. Just make sure you do your research, and if you find you have a defensive specimen, please let me know, because I'd love to hear about it. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, for those of you that have them, that's how I'm keeping them. So far, they're doing well, so it's working for me. For those of you who don't have them, I definitely implore you to kind of check them out. They are a cool species. They get to be about 4 inches or so total, so a smaller species won't take a lot of room up your collection. And although they are considered to be fossorial, I do see mine out quite a bit. So that'll do it for this one. If you haven't checked out any of my videos before, you can click here. I'm going to put a Fatal Fangs link here. Hopefully some of you guys will check that out. And if you liked it so much you'd like to subscribe, as always, very much appreciated. Right up here as all the dust motes go around me because I was petting my dog again. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys all next time.